I just wanted to put a face with somebody.
No, that's good.
The first thing, this is not on the agenda because I wasn't aware of it until yesterday, but Secretary Lane called and said he was going to be in town, and it's always great to have the Secretary of Transportation here, and I would like to ask you to make a few comments if you don't mind, Aubrey, but before you do, I want to speak for this entire Hrtac and thank you for everything you've done to help us out. We're really on the right track. We're getting some things accomplished, but we couldn't be doing that without the support of you and the wonderful people at DDOT that have been helping us as well. So we welcome you doing it.
No, thank you very much, Mayor. Is it broken out? Haven't we got the public comment?
Yes, sir. You go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys letting me sort of crash. I needed lunch and I couldn't help. But no, actually, I've been going around the state. This was a momentous week for transportation in the Commonwealth. I think historic. Over two and a half years worth of work under House Bill 2, now called Smart Scale, and
That was a smart move to change that.
yeah, it was because of where I went a little south of us here in North Carolina. But that and the Omnibus Act that came on the heels of that, Transportation Act, and of course many of the people in this room were directly responsible. I mean, it was Chris Stolley's bill as Speaker, working with the governor, but Chris was his bill, and then of course Chairman Jones and the Omnibus. I mean, Senator Wagner was on transportation going through the whole thing. And of course, David Yancey has been involved. So it was, the good news is it was bipartisan. A lot of hard work. Oh, I'm sorry. He's financing transportation, and I didn't see him over it. He's now the mayor-elect. I figured he was.
He's a head.
He's going on, but no. That's right, Mayor. Alexander, I'm sorry. That's right. That's right. So absolutely, he was.
Anything nicer.
Well, I'm pointing out it was a lot of people, and many of the people in Hampton Roads made this happen. But as you know, it became not just something to talk about. It was actioned on this past week by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. So for the first time in the Commonwealth's history, there is a very transparent and accountable process on how projects are allocated for funding. It also, for the first time, we delivered a fully constrained 6-year plan so that people know that when a project gets in it, it's going to be built through construction. So I think a lot of the benefits, I mean, we couldn't get here without the scoring, but a lot of the benefits will be seen for years to come in terms of the policy implications, not only VDOT being more efficient, but many of our contractors can plan their businesses, and our citizens can understand at least how their transportation dollars are being spent. In fact, that's the biggest thing I've heard across public meetings is that they now understand how to go about getting money for transportation. It's no longer a black box. So this region did very well. Over $330 million was allocated here. Both, as you know, there are different pots of money, but this region got both regional monies and statewide priority monies. The project scored well. I'll mention that, quite frankly, this area had some of the highest scoring economic development projects in the state. And I think that has a lot to do with the Port of Virginia and the opportunities that are here. So I would encourage you, I know another round is coming up, September 30th of this year. I know the high-rise bridge, among other projects, be submitted. I would encourage you to stay on that track and to work with VDOT to get that project in. And we won't have quite as much money this year. Last year, about $1.7 billion under House Bill 2. This year, about half of that, $800 million. And then, of course, we'll be allocating the following year because of the way the money's flowed. So, one other point I point out under this House Bill 87, in addition to the $330 million of House Bill 2 monies, over $150 million of state of good repair monies come to this district here, which means that DDOT will be allocating those based on the most significantly deteriorating assets in the Commonwealth. So I think that's very good news for the state, and actually very good news for Hampton Roads, and appreciate all the people, the support. I told the governor a year or so ago, I wasn't quite sure if he was going to be here talking about this or he was going to fire me. Because it took a lot of effort, and really, I think the reason it was successful, we had bipartisan support, and we built it from the ground up. Everybody had a chance to comment as we put this process in. Just a couple of other things that have been in the news lately. The Port of Virginia, again, I want to thank the representatives here from our legislature, another bipartisan investment of over $350 million in the port. It will announce here soon. It will have a second year of sustainable operations. You see Jeff over there. What a turnaround led by John Reinhardt and his team that gives us this ability to invest in the port. When you throw on what we're doing in expanding Virginia International Gateway Terminals, almost $700 billion, the most investment in the Port of Virginia in its history in that period of time. So that's going to continue to put strain in this group and the TPO working with the state, because we're going to have more trucks coming in and out of the area. A lot of it's going to be rail. We're blessed that over 30% and growing of our port is rail-based. And we're also blessed about 50-50 between import and export, which makes us a very desirable position on the East Coast. So good things there. There was some news this past week, discussion by Mayor Sessions has mentioned this among others, in the paper about a regional airport. And I know that's been discussed. Actually, last time we looked at it in detail was around the turn of this 2001. I would point out that many of the carriers already look at the Commonwealth by region, and the eastern region, for the most part, is considered Richmond, Newport News, the Peninsula, and the South Side. The way they allocate slots is on a regional basis, so it makes some sense to look at this. But I think it's going to require a lot of cooperation with the current regional airports and the elected leaders in those areas as a beginning step, because it's obviously going to be a very expensive endeavor, something that's going to take some time to go. But I think if we show both the carriers and the federal government, let's be honest, that's going to have to be the major person. That the FAA would have to approve it. It would have to be a big funder. It's going to require a lot of regional and grassroots cooperation to get this, so to speak, off the ground. But willing to work with the region in doing that. Finally, just a couple of things on projects. We did receive, the Army Corps of Engineers signed the 460 permit this past week. FHWA is now in their legal review. We expect to have it from them here in a few days, which means we will post it hopefully sometime next week. And in 30 days, that long live process in terms of getting a permit will come to an end. We will then take that project and score it under House Bill 2, and the determination of that will be what is done will be determined by the new, smart scales process as we go forward in that. There's a large grant that will affect this area if we're successful. It's called the Fast Lane Grant. It's $1 billion for both private, state, and federal monies. We've asked the federal government for approximately $225 million. It impacts Hampton Roads because it increases our freight capacity and our ability to put higher speed and other Amtrak trains and other trains in the 95 corridor. And this gets back to this regional concept. Quite frankly, in transportation, the more we align ourselves with that region, the more we attract federal dollars. And so in terms of our Tier 2 high-speed rail that's coming on after we complete the quarter up there, this grant would be a game changer in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That quarter is the most trafficked quarter in the Southeast, including Miami, Atlanta. When you look at the traffic that passes through and the freight in that quarter, and it's over capacity. So hopefully we'll be successful. We should know in the next week or so in that regard. So I know a lot of specific things going on in Hampton Roads, which I know Charlie and Jim have kept you all updated on. But a lot of good things going in the Commonwealth, and I think Hampton Roads is benefiting significantly from them. and just wanted to give you an update as to what was going on at the state.
Well, we appreciate you stopping in, and we also appreciate your great support. I'll now move forward for approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll go to public comment now. Frank, you're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll refrain from my normal commentation. Anyways, why am I here? I have been reading the newspaper, and I've been reading reports. Some of you were here before when I gave the report as the 8th and 9th highest weekly wage earner in the nation belongs to the state of Virginia. Fairfax and Alexandria with $1,600 a week earned, which is why probably they got those hot lanes up there where they can turn around and change it to HOV 3. That way there they can nail all the HOV 2 drivers with this additional toll, which is something that they're talking about bringing down here. But according to the plans that I've seen, HOV 2 for the 2-hour period of time doesn't pay. So what they plan on doing is increasing it from 2 hours to 4 hours. That way there they can get enough riders in there that are willing to pay the toll to justify having the toll in the first place. But it still doesn't address the leading problem that I see facing this community. And the leading problem that I see facing this community is the fact that the roads that we need are taking so long to be built. And me personally, I am so far against tolls, it's unbelievable. But I'm not against taxes. See, a tax, as far as I'm concerned, spreads the cost out over the entire area so that the commuter who goes back and forth to work trying to earn a living isn't saddled with the additional expense of tolls. Let's face it, when they turn around and put HOV 2 lanes here for 4 hours and they start tolling people, that means people that normally ride those lanes after the 2-hour period, they're gonna be forced off the roads, or they're gonna be paying a toll. Some of these people just can't afford it. Some of them can afford it. Well, so you say, let the ones that can afford pay for those that can't. But it puts a burden on these people who can't, because now they're forced to take other means of getting back and forth to work. Maybe back and forth to the show, entertainment, spend more time on highways, more time in congestion. We need to get this 460 plan that you got going over there. From what I've seen over there, you got a study going on that's going to take 4 years to pay for it, $5 million, 4 years to pay for it. They pulled more than that amount out of the 460 program that we had, and they gave it to Virginia Beach. Now we need to turn around and reallocate this money for a study to do. We need that work done. Well, we don't need it done in 5 years from now. We need it done yesterday. Our ports has to have the ability to bring their cargo to wherever they are going. That means to the customer, not to the ports, not to some freight company, but they need to get it to wherever it needs to go. And that entails transportation. Yes, they're moving it by barge. Yes, they're moving it by freight. But they're planning on putting 460 in them. I don't know what the new name, I call it the Patriot Crossing. Something long overdue. Not even in the plans. It's a dream, a pipe dream that's coming. We're hoping to have it someday done. They're doing work on 564, which is long overdue. But they still got to put a tunnel in. They still got to put it connected to the 664. And after all that work is done, they still only push the bottlenecks across the water to Newport News, because now they're going to have a bottleneck there. All the projects that we're doing on the widening of 64, all the way up to 199, it's going to have another bottleneck, and somewhere, someday, somehow, they're going to find enough money to turn around and open it up all the way up to 295. These things I realize and I understand it takes money, and I realize we are a lot better off than we were 10 years ago. But we're nowhere near where we need to be. And that's my thoughts for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one more speaker, Mark. We welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, honorable commissioners. Based on what I saw in the newspaper recently, we are at the doorstep of year zero. For those of you who do not use the Elizabeth crossings, this concept may be totally foreign. But those of us who do, it means the beginning of the period of annual rate adjustments of the toll, either 3.5% or the increase in the consumer price index, the higher. So it is a story that there is a story from Asia about a king's advisor who did a great service to the kingdom. And the monarch asked him what he wanted as a reward. Did he want a castle? Did he want a large estate? Did he want gold? The advisor said, no, sir. I just want this simple compensation. If you would take out a chessboard and put each day on the first, if you would take and put 1 grain of wheat in the first square on the first day, and on the second day, in the second square, 2 grains of wheat, and on the third day, in the fourth square, in the third square, 4 grains of wheat, and so on, until the chessboard is filled with wheat. The king says, well, that seems like a very small reward. The advisor says, that's all I desire. And so they began it. Well, they didn't get very far along the chessboard before all the granaries were empty in the kingdom. And the other advisors to the king started doing the math and said, sire, there won't be enough granary, enough grain in this entire region to satisfy that repayment. This is what we're looking at with the tolls on the tunnel over the remaining 54 years of the contract. Every year, 3.5% or the increase in the CPI, whichever is greater. It won't be long before the tolls double. And those people who do not have easy passes, the factor that is used as the differential between the toll rate and the easy pass will also increase by this amount. And for the first 10 years, from year zero, there will be a couple of extra cents added on to the toll rates before the inflation factor is applied. So you are talking about unmanageable tolls, unaffordable tolls. And everybody admitted that this was a bad deal. That's why Hrtac is going off in a different direction in the other projects that they're building. The Midtown and downtown tunnels were specifically excluded in the legislation that established Hrtac. It needs to be brought in. We need to acquire, through Hrtac, the tunnel. The people who use those tunnels should not be treated as second-class citizens in this region. I want you to know, a lot of people in this room have conveniently swept that rotten deal under the rug. But as I go around the city, speaking to neighborhood groups, the people of my city are painfully aware of how bad things are, even if they do not know how much worse they're going to get. It is unacceptable for our tax dollars to be tapped to build these other projects without addressing this deficiency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Commission, I do have just a couple of quick comments. First is to remind our county jurisdictions that the Hrtac code change effective July 1st requires that county members must be appointed by their respective governing body. So we want to make sure we get that done. Also, I have been working this month to get all the appointments that need to be done, and I'm going to complete those now as I speak on finance. We've asked people to serve in some cases and haven't heard back, so we're having to make the decisions now. But on the Class 1 members of the Finance Committee, to take Paul Frame's place, future Mayor Senator Alexander has agreed to serve. Frank Wagner will continue to be chairman. McKinley Price has taken the place in the vacant spot that we have open. Rex Alphen is going to continue to serve, and Chris Stolley will take a vacant spot. So now we do have our full Finance Committee in place, and everyone has accepted those positions, I'm happy to say. In addition, I'm happy to say that our executive director now has an executive assistant by the name of Jennifer Coleman. Jennifer, where are you? You just came. Welcome. And we're going to put Jennifer right to work because we have code changes to FOIA this year require Hrtac to identify a FOIA officer to whom members of the public may direct requests for public records. This role will oversee the Hrtac compliance, and Jennifer Coleman will be that person. So the public knows that now as well as us. Then we will go ahead and move on to the consent items. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent items, the minutes of the May 19, 2016 Hrtac regular meeting? And the legal structure for future HRTF revenue bonds and the fiscal year 2017 Hrtac meeting schedule, which, as you all know, you've had this and we've discussed it, this is going to quarterly meetings. Do I have a motion? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Great. Now we'll move to our action items. I am going to turn this over for the election of the fiscal year 2017 officers to the vice chairman to run this part of the meeting. Thank you, Clyde.
We have a report from the nominating committee. We're going to do this first for the chair and then for the vice chair, so we'll do separately. Mayor Wright's not here today, so Mayor Price is going to present the nominating committee's recommendation to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, for chair, the nominating committee recommends Will Sessions.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. We'll do a voice vote unless there are any. First, let me ask, do I have permission to do a voice vote? Anybody want to do a roll call vote? Not? We'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Now for Vice Chair, Mayor Price.
The nominating committee recommends Michael Hipple for vice chair.
Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll go to, again, anybody want to do a roll call vote? If not, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Any abstentions?
Thank you very much. And to the commission, thank you very much for your support, and look forward to another great year. Okay, Hrtac investment policy, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you did through your booklet, it's about 3/4 of the way back. You'll find it action item 6A. It's the investment policy. Mr. Chairman, we worked at length at looking at what we can do, how we can get our money invested better, get a better rate of return. Also ensuring that we comply with all state law with regards to the types of investments we can make. Certain code changes last year allowed us to be a lot more aggressive than what we had previously been invested. However, the investment policy that you have before you today dials back what legally we can do under current code provisions to what we think is a much more conservative method that we believe will allow us to maximize our rate of return on those monies that we have, while at the same time ensuring that we're not putting any of that money at risk should there be some type of volatile downturn. And by that I mean, under the current state law, we could go as far as we wanted to, investing up to 30%, as can VDOT with the Transportation Trust Fund. Essentially, we have the same rules that VDOT has managed the Transportation Trust Fund under the new code changes. We felt that investing in securities, in terms of stocks and that type of thing, is probably not something that we want to go down the road of. And so this particular policy really, we think, offers a motive that will give us the highest rate of return while specifically protecting the taxpayers' money that we're entrusted with, and still allow the liquidity at the times that we're going to need it to be able to reimburse our brothers at the state level when they send us some invoices. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and certainly our executive director can go in more detail if so chooses.
Any questions?
I will add, Mr. Chairman, that this has been scrutinized by legal counsel, by our consultants, and we think we got a sound policy that was approved unanimously by our finance committee.
I want to thank your entire committee along with Kevin. They have spent a lot of time on this. As you know, we are a touring organization, and this needed to be done, and I think we got something very solid. That being said, is there a motion for approval? Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Thank you very much. Next will be the amendment to the Hrtac approved fiscal year 2016 to fiscal year 2022 funding plan through 4605813 metro improvements, standard project services to support preliminary engineering phase, and FSOC. Chair Crawford is going to make some comments.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Crawford cannot make it today, so if you don't mind, sir, I'll take this one for you.
Please.
We've been working on this project, Ed, for now about a year. The commission is being asked to approve today $5 million to advance the preliminary engineering phase of the 4605813 connector project. As you all know, the jurisdictions around the table that deal with SIPSA, there have been some concerns and some consideration requests to look more heavily at the overpass at the SIPSA landfill access as well as the executive terminal airport. In doing that, we wanted to make sure that we were moving forward with preliminary engineering of the project in accordance with VDOT on the schedule of planning, so we can then move forward to have discussions with SIPSA as to what that overpass would be designed to look like. So we're asking today, Chair Sessions and members of the Commission, for consideration for approval of a $5 million allocation of funds, broken out, as you can see in your decision brief that you have before you today. The $5 million will be broken over 2017, 18, 19, and 20. You can see those numbers in there as well as to how that will be allocated out in our funding planning program of projects moving forward. This also authorizes the chairman to move forward with council and staff and VDOT to move forward with the execution of that agreement for the preliminary engineering. Chair Sessions, I turn the floor back over to you for any questions.
Any questions of Kevin? This is something that's been doing for a while too. Is there a motion for approval? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. The next thing will not require action, but will just be put out as a reading for the amended and restated bylaws. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Kimball, can you put on the screen the amended and restated bylaws? I'm not going to read line by line, but I'll just give a synopsis of what the amendments are. During the 2016 session, the General Assembly passed House Bill 1111, which made statutory amendments to the Hrtac legislation becoming effective July 1st. These second amended restated bylaws are to conform the bylaws to those changes in the law. Article 2 now reflects the manner in which each county may appoint a designee from among its board. It further reflects how a member serving a city or county can appoint a designee to serve at a meeting in his or her place instead. And the designee must be another elected official, and notice must be given in writing 48 hours in advance. And so, Mike, you can just scroll through. These are captured in the first 2 pages. The remainder of the changes are in Article 4, and those are what we would call conforming changes to make sure that the references to members also include their designees for purposes of the actual meeting. So this will be acted on at the next Hrtac regular meeting.
This is just a reading, to let everyone know what's coming, people, that we will, if they have any issues, bring it up at our next meeting. The next issue, unless there are questions on that one, we'll move on to item E, the high-rise bridge construction project. Approval of allocation of funds for standard project services to support right-of-way and construction phase for I-64 South Side Whiting and high-rise bridge phase 1, and authorization to prepare and finalize project agreement. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the commission and public here today. Before I get started into this action item, I just wanted to point out to everyone kind of where we were this time last year and where we are this time this year. Actually, on this item, provided it moves forward, we will cross the $1.2 billion allocation of projects. That is a significant achievement, I think, as we move forward with these projects. I want to acknowledge also VDOT's hard work on this, especially you, Administrator Hrtac, on splitting this project into phases, which has allowed us to move forward with many of our projects, freeing up some resources that are very scarce that we can use to move forward on other projects. So I want to thank you for your hard work on that and moving forward to the routine. And having said that, before you today is a $580 million request of the Commission to move forward with the standard projects in support of right-of-way construction of this project. As I mentioned earlier, this project has been now split into several phases. Phase 1 is to move forward with this project with the allocation of funds of the $580 million. And in your action item here today, as it's split into the fiscal years, as you can see, that include FY 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 for a total allocation of $580 million. There will be some efforts this summer to move forward with not only the negotiations and consideration of the language of the standard project agreement to move forward with this project, but also the HR TPO will be taking action on the 2040 Constrained Long-Range Transportation Plan, which points to this project, but also with our allocation behind it, will allow VDOT to move forward with the finding of no significant impact request of the NEPA process to move forward with this important bridge project. So as we move forward with that, it's our anticipation to come back to you sometime in September, at our September meeting, to have that final project agreement that we've had discussions, Hrtac staff and Commissioner and Mr. Hrtac as well, to move forward with that project. It's very important today to understand the $580 million allocation of funds today in programming helps us to move forward this project and also keeps it going on track without any further hesitation or delay as we move forward. Mr. Chair, I turn the floor back over to you for the question.
Any questions? I know where to look for the motion. I'm not looking to the right. Mr. Rasmussen, you want to make a motion? Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Good.
I'm going to make a comment. I assume what the executive director stated. The reason to have the agreements in place by September, so we'll be able to meet the September 30 deadline for application for HB $2. So we'll be in the queue, as they say, for the $400 million will be available to be allocated in that next round of granting.
Mayor President.
I just want to thank you, sir, for your leadership. I appreciate the Secretary being here to witness this historic event. And I want to thank I certainly want to thank our delegate, the Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, and certainly those that have helped, including our next mayor of Norfolk, Mr. Kenny Alexander, being on the Finance Committee. I appreciate you so much. With that, I make a motion that we approve this agenda item, sir.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Congratulations. Yes, sir.
Just point out, as in the past year with House Bill 2, continue moving, the funds, get money to be reimbursed. So you don't have to worry about if you spend something that you would lose the opportunity to get reimbursement. So I appreciate not only the vote, but keeping these projects moving based on some of the public comments is very critical. And it does not impact you to keep them moving in any way, hurt you in getting House Bill 2.
Well, I tell you what, we'll move faster.
Smart scale money.
Okay. Commission, if I can take just a minute, please. We have some of our members that this will be their last meeting. Obviously, Mayor Franklin's not here right now, but I really wanted to give this to him, so he's always talking about signatures that he can hang up on his wall. I really appreciate it. And here, Senator Alexander, if you pass those comments, can I give this to you to give to him, please? This is, it's so weird. It's real holy field. Mayor Wallace. We certainly thank you for everything you've done, sir, to get this forward. Okay. Thank you, sir. Dallas Genovese. We thank you so much for everything you've done for us. And Mayor Johnson Ashford is not here. So can we just get that? You mind? Thank you. Hey, I want to sit back. I'll talk almost a minute here. Clyde Holman, first of all, in the city of Virginia, I have one of the best vice mayors Bruce you could ever have. Always great guy with me. Clyde Holman is just like him. And I just want to thank you for always being there and giving great advice and being right on my left-hand side of the help. And we're certainly Okay, folks, in the information items, I think you'll see the HRTF financial report. And, Senator Ryan, how much cash do we have?
$438,531. I'm sorry, $438,531,490. Almost enough to pay for my grass off bridge, but.
More than the single down extra dollar.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add one more comment, I appreciate the comments from the secretary about, don't worry, spending money, we'll pay it back. And we would like to add the same comment back to him, don't worry, spending money, we might pay you back too.
And please note that our next meeting will start our quarterly meetings, and that's set for September 15th. Also understand, we won't hesitate to call a special meeting if needed, but we're not just going to have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. Any other business? We'll adjourn and take off for a break meeting.